Hi, this is Cameron back again with another vinyl collection video. This is number 44. In this one I show albums that start with the letter A, and I'm at part 4. As I said before, I've got about 250 or so albums that start with the letter A. I did, as I said, devastate my collection of albums with the letter A about 4 or 5 years ago when I sold off a lot of my best obscure 60s and early 70s rock, but there still is enough left that I think it's interesting. You get to see my eclectic mix, my very sort of diverse mix for a great variety of sounds, whether country or folk or some rock, some classical, some different ethnic music. So I'm going to show this off. If you're really just interested in the rock side of things, you may want to wait till I get to the letter B, where I'll have a lot more of those kinds of albums. But in the meantime, if you're interested in a real eclectic mix, please let me know what you think. Okay, to get started, from 1987, there's an album of World War II music. This came out of veterans from World War II called the Air Command Band, Bless 'Em All. Then I have sort of a post-punk new wave artist, Jane Eyre and the Belvederes, from 1979. She's US based, I believe out of Ohio. I believe that's her first album. It's self-titled. Next up, soundtrack. I don't have as many soundtracks as I'd like to, but this is the soundtrack for the movie Airport 1975. You can see I got that from the dollar bin. Forgot to take off that tag. I'll have to do that. It's on a original shrink wrap, so it won't wreck the record. Okay, next up, Afrobeat album. I'm not sure the origin, which country, but from 1972, Akido on Mercury. Had a little bit of water damage. Next up, some jazz from Japan. The Toshiko Akiyoshilu Tabakan Big Band Insights. This came out in 1978. A little bit of classical. As I said, I inherited much of my classical collection from the University of Manitoba Library. I work at the University of Manitoba. They were getting rid of a lot of their vinyl, and they were giving them away for free, so I picked up maybe a couple hundred of classical albums. So here, this is one of them, the Allard Quartet, in residence at the Pennsylvania State University, String Quartet, Opus 22 by Hindemith, and String Quartet by Janicek. Okay, some other classical inspired by folk music. Licia Albanese sings songs of Verdi and Italian folk songs. And this came out in 1964. It's a little too operatic for my tastes. I don't mind opera when I see it visually, but listening on record is not my favorite. It's not my favorite style of music. Next up, one of these radio-issued local band samplers. This one's called Alberta Crude from 1981, and it features Victory Group, Wilfred N. and the Grown Men, Rockies, and Millions. So quite interesting. whenever I see these local compilations, I try to pick them up because, I mean, when in the past I used to stay away from them thinking that they weren't, you know, real, genuine rock. But in fact, they give you the sense of the grassroots of local scenes. So now I pick them up. Okay, next up, Luis Alberti y su orquesta, Luna sobre el Jaragua, Volume 2. So this is a Dominican merengue artist. It's an older style merengue. This is probably from the 60s or early 70s. He does merengue, bolero, danzón, danzonete, bolemengue, jaleo. Those are the different styles of music. Now, interestingly enough, I didn't pick that up in the Dominican when I was living there during the 5 years from 97 to 2002, but instead picked that up locally here in Winnipeg, Canada. So how it got here, I don't know. Next up, folk rock from the UK. The Albion band, Rise Up, or Albion, I think you pronounce it Albion or Albion, I'm not sure. Band, Rise Up Like the Sun. This came out in 1978. It's very lively. And then an issue from the, I believe, the late 70s or early 80s. But it's of the Albion Country Band from 1972-73. It's some of the songs that hadn't been issued at the time. It's called Battle of the Field. Next up, some guitar-based, more easy listening music. Don Alessi, Guitar Spectacular. This came out in 1960. And it has a lot of Brazilian and Latin or Mexican songs influence. So Bésame Mucho, Cuban Pete, so the Cuban influence, Tico Tico. So a number of songs that are quite well known. It's an instrumental guitar album. It's in good shape. Whenever I find these easy listening albums in really good shape, I try to pick them up nowadays. I used to ignore them, but I realize just how interesting they are. They're a document of their time. Real artifacts. Next up, a German blues rock artist, Alex, on an album called So Simple, and this came out in 1984. I don't know that album very well. I only know that it's blues rock because I looked it up on the internet, so I have to give that a new listen to see if in fact that's true. And then finally, 2 albums by Willie Alexander and the Boom Boom Band. So he came out of Massachusetts. He had been part of different 60s band, The Lost, Bagatelle. Later on, he was a member in 1971 of Velvet Underground. And then he went on his own and did different power pop music in the 70s. So 2 albums from 1978. First one is just called Willie Alexander and the Boom Boom Band. Oops. Sorry about the glare on that one. And then the second one is called Willie Alexander and the Boom Boom Band, Meanwhile Back in the States. And I remember this being very good power pop. Sort of reminded me of the Flaming Groovies. Okay, so that's it for this episode of my vinyl collection. Hope you liked it. As I said before, I do promise to do some episodes in which I will focus in on themes rather than just going alphabet by alphabet, alphabetical letter by alphabetical letter. But for now, I want to just do a few of these, see what the interest is, get some people talking, hopefully. So let me know what you think. about any of these bands. I'd like to know more about some of the ones that I'm not so familiar with, like Alex. And please subscribe. I look forward to hearing from you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.